first assignment. Well, the first assignment is a pretty simple one. So the first assignment is a spacing assignment. And this is all stuff like if every one of you, I'm going on a tangent right off the bat. Man, it's like starting a marathon and just face planting. So this is something that all of you I would recommend doing at some point. Even if you're like finished class 6 and moving on to the industry, going back to these fundamentals and just redoing these assignments can be huge, and it can help you kind of realize, oh wait, I didn't really understand this principle before and now I do. And I know all of these extra cool things. And it just kind of makes things click in a really cool way. And for anyone who's starting animation, well, here's a bunch of exercises you can try on your own and just kind of get a taste of animation. It's all very good exercises to start learning the principles. So let's start here. So the very first assignment here is the spacing assignment. So here we have it. There we go. And what this assignment is animating 3 vehicles starting and stopping on the exact same frame. So it's going to start on frame 1 and 48 frames later on frame 49, right through here. And we need to understand how to use the graph editor to make each of these cars feel different. And this kind of goes into what we were talking about before about lead and follow and whatnot, but on a smaller scale, is essentially understanding timing and spacing and how they work together and how we can use, especially spacing, to create a totally different feel while still keeping the same timing. So when we do this assignment here, let's take all these cars and I'm just going to key them very basically here. So frame 1, set a key. Frame 49, set a key, and I'm going to move them forward right through there, and we're going to stop right here. So there we go. Haha! They're moving. Great. So if we just play through this here, we've got all of these cars moving, and they are taking 48 frames to get from the start of the shot to the end of the shot. So what we can do now is we can take car number 2, and let's just make it a little bit different. Now, the challenge of this assignment isn't so much making things different, because honestly, well, that's pretty easy. I could just move this around and do a whole bunch of things. Okay, great. That's different. The key of this assignment, and this is the key thing with every assignment, is there's a very big difference between doing the assignment and understanding the assignment. In this case, it's understanding what is the graph editor showing us. So in this case, we're just animating the car moving forward. So that would be the translate X in this case, right here. So we've got the car there, and we've got this curve. Well, what is this curve telling us? How can we affect this consciously and with purpose to get a specific result versus just hoping for the best and wiggling things around and going, hey, I guess it works, or oh, I guess it doesn't. Why? I don't know. We want to have that proper knowledge. And this is very important because understanding this principle here of the graph editor and how we can visualize animation is going to apply to every single shot that we then do in this class 1 challenge here. So let's just kind of take a step back, and for anyone who doesn't know, a quick explanation of what we're looking at here, because again, it's going to apply to everything. So I want to make sure everyone understands this. So essentially, curves in the graph editor can be broken down into 2 basic things: speed and direction. That's really it. When we're looking at this, what we're seeing is the values. So that's the up and down. So the value, it goes from 0 here all the way to the end pose over here. If I move that up and down, you can see that it's moving. So it's the value over time. Right there, if I scrub through my timeline, we're seeing the time change. Okay, great, sure. But what does the curve show us? Like I said, it's speed and direction. The speed is essentially, if you look at the curve, if you have a flat curve, it means that it's not moving. If it starts to go up, it's getting a little faster. And the steeper it goes, the faster it goes. So if we look at this curve, for example, we see that it's flat, not moving. Oh, picks up speed. It's going a little steeper. Steeper here, faster, and then eases in. So looking at this curve right there, I know that that curve is taking its time to start and then speeding up and then slowing down. There we go. So if I want this car to just move, like just, it is starting right off the bat like it was shot out of a cannon. Well, if I take this curve and tilt it upwards like this, let's think of that curve. So it goes steep, that's fast. A steep curve is fast. And then it flattens out, flattens out, flattens out, slow. So it goes fast, slow. There we go. If we look at this assignment now, you see that that middle car takes off, goes fast at the beginning, and then slows down to a stop right there, all within those 48 frames. So if we look at our animation now, we can see that that middle car has much more speed at the beginning. Yeah, the more vertical the curve is, the faster the movement. Exactly. So let's do something a little bit different with this one. Let's say we want it to still start off slow, but then in the middle, we really pick up speed. It just goes, vroom, kicks up and then eases in. Well, I can add an extra key in the curve here. And then I'm just going to take this and I'm going to twist it so that middle part is steeper. And let's compare it to our other one right here. So you can see this is the original curve right there for the first car at the top. And now this is the new curve for the second car. It's still starting and stopping at the same point, but see how much steeper it is in the middle there? Much more vertical. What that means is that this car is going to start slow and really slow here, pick up speed, really fast right there, slow down. So if we play this, you can see slow, and then comes to a stop. There we go. So by knowing what that curve means, what that line is telling us, we can visualize exactly what's going to be happening in our animation at any time. So that makes it way easier to know when something is going wrong or when something is not doing what we want it to do. So that's the first principle, which is basically the speed of the curve, how flat or steep it is, or horizontal or vertical. Okay, now the second thing to keep in mind, direction. So direction of the curve is essentially, is the curve going up or is it going down? So for example, here, the curve is going up right through there. So you can see it, even though it's going slow, it's still going up, 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 goes up faster, and then flattens out, but still going up. But what happens if I do this? See how the curve is going down now? Down, then up. And then what if I do this? So now let's exaggerate this a lot here. So now the curve goes down, then up, then down. What does that tell us? Essentially, it just means there's a change of direction. Which direction? Well, whichever attribute we're using. So in this case, it's the translate X, left to right in this case. So if we see this change of direction, it means that it's going one way and then it goes another way. So in this case, if I scrub through, downwards means the object is going left. You can see the car has gone in reverse now. As the curve goes back up, now the object goes right. Through here, as the curve reverses again, the object goes left once more. So now, along with that speed, if I pay attention to these reversals, these changes of direction, I know when something is going in one direction versus another. So let me simplify this curve here super quick. So what I'm going to do is essentially make sure that he's not driving off of the world here. So right there. So what we can do here at the beginning Let's say we want the car to anticipate, reverse a little bit, boom, takes off with the gas. So here we've got that slow motion. It's flat, speeds up, eases in, slows down right there. I can make that a little bit more of an ease, slowing it down, a little faster in the middle. Back, boom, it takes off. If I want it to be a little slower right there, I could add another key right here. And just bring this down. So I'm flattening that curve, making it take a little bit more time, a little bit slower to pick up speed. Right through there. As it comes through, I'm going to go over here. And have this go right up to the end there. Don't want to pass the wall. So once again, maybe a bit further back. We've got that curve. It speeds up, eases in, slows down, and then reverses. So it goes forward, in this case, to the right, eases, and then goes back. A little fast there. So I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Or actually, I accidentally moved this last key. What was the value here? I want to make sure I actually keep these starting and stopping on the same frame there. Okay. So now it goes through and we get that reversal. Still a little bit big. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. But you see now we get that nice little bit of an ease and reverse right there. We get that little bit of suspension kind of stopping in this case. Now, there we go. So by looking at that speed and then the changes in direction, we can make informed choices about what is happening in our scene. So I'm going to take this middle part here, for example. I want this to be a little bit faster. So I'm going to add another key and I'm just going to twist it slightly. Just a little bit like so. So we get that a little bit faster motion in the middle and then we ease more at the end here. When it goes faster in the middle, slows down, maybe a little too fast there. So if we look at that here, goes through, and I think I just dragged my whole curve down. That's what messed me up here. This should start at 0. There we go. There we go. So now we have 3 cars moving across the scene differently, even though their timing is exactly the same. And again, the key here is that we understood what we are doing in the graph editor. And you could honestly do this with adding keys visually as well. But it's understanding what is happening here and why it's happening. Because the more you can understand that early on, the easier every other assignment is going to be. Now, a typical question that I get with this is, well, what do the curves mean? Okay, so the translate X is side to side. That means down is left and up is right. Okay, so what does translate Y mean? Well, up is up and down is down. Okay, that makes sense. And what does Z? But what about the rotations? Don't worry about those. All of that is excessive information that doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because we are working in a CG 3D environment. And what that means is that positioning can change at any time. An example of this is this assignment here. So if, as we were saying, as the curve goes down here, the car goes to the left. As it goes up, it goes to the right. As it goes down again, it goes to the left. Okay. But what happens if I change my camera? If I take my camera here and go right through there on the front view, now as the curve goes back, the car goes backwards. As the curve goes up, the car goes forward. And then it goes back again. Well, what if I put my view the other way? Now we're looking at it from the back. Now it goes towards us right here, and then away from us, and then towards us. So it's the opposite. So don't get too caught up on like the exact directions and whatnot in there. Essentially, it's just thinking of the change of direction. So in this case, the translate X, and usually what I'll do is, okay, translate X, scrub through my animation. Okay, it's going left to right. Cool. Down is one direction, up is a different direction. There's my change. That's all I really care about. So by understanding that, you can look at any curve, regardless of how complex it is. You can have the most complex facial animation with the most complex character animation, like Spider-Verse style, swinging through the streets, just horribly complex stuff. And you'll understand what is happening in your graph editor, and you'll know why something might not be working. So it makes it much, much faster as an animator to understand that. I hope all of that made sense. And hopefully, if anyone has questions on that, definitely let me know.